Hey everybody, what's happening? Brent Axe here from syracuse.com, and we are live on the syracuse.com Orange Football Facebook page, and we're coming off the heels of another Syracuse football win. That's 3 in a row for the Orange as they improved to 7-2 on the 2018 season with a 41-24 win over Wake Forest at BBT. What was that stadium? I forget the name of the stadium. It's a bank name of some sort, but in Winston-Salem today, the Orange grabbed the win. And a lot of things happening for Syracuse on that front, as we will discuss here. But thanks for hanging with us here today on Facebook Live. Do me a favor if you're watching us live, just in case you're not. We do put this on YouTube later on, so you may be watching in the future sometime. But if you are watching live, just hit that like and share button. Let people know that we're here and we're doing the thing live with you right now. And we're doing it after a 41-24 win for Syracuse over Wake Forest. So you guys get in. Charlie asking where my costume is. Yeah, just me today. Sorry. Thank you for watching Orange Weekly on syracuse.com and our YouTube page and the other places we put that. I think I had 7 different costumes for this week's episode, so I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. And Charlie, loved that comment there. So you guys get in the comments. I'll hop in there with you and react to what you're saying here momentarily. But here's what happens with this win for Syracuse, a game in which they ran the ball a lot more than I thought they would and ran the ball a lot more effectively than I thought they could, even against a bad defense against Wake Forest. But there's a few things that come to mind with this win, and they are this. Syracuse had been 0-8 in November under Dino Babers, so they now have a win in the month of November. The last time Syracuse football won a game in November was November 28th, 2015. That was Scott Schaefer's last game as head coach in a win over Boston College. Syracuse, with this win, snaps an 8-game losing streak in the ACC on the road. They are now assured a winning season. Syracuse can lose out the rest of the year. They're still going to have a winning season this upcoming year. Eric Dungy is still healthy at this point, which has not been a luxury Syracuse has had the last 2 years with his injury situation. Syracuse stretches an ACC winning streak to 3 games. That is its longest conference winning streak since 2001. Syracuse, the last time that they had 7 wins in the regular season, okay, it's been a while since that has happened. I'm going to look that up while we're yakking about it here. They have not had 7 regular season wins since 2012. The last time that Syracuse had 8 wins in a regular season, which they could get coming up on Friday against Louisville, they haven't done that since 2001. So there's a lot of trends that are breaking here for Syracuse, and this was the next step for Dino Babers in the Orange, who got into the rankings this week, 19th in the college football playoff poll, 22 in the AP poll, 24 in the coaches poll, first time they had been ranked since 2001. Now you got to start winning games on the road, and they did that today. It was a little dicey in the first half, but Syracuse kind of found its rhythm, as we mentioned, in the running game. The defense, while it had its bad moments in the second half, only gave up 24 points and made a bunch of key turnovers in the right spots to ensure a win over the Demon Deacons and ensure a winning season in 2018. As we mentioned, Syracuse really ran the ball well. This is an Orange team that averages 196 yards on the ground. Today, 264 rushing yards. Wake Forest just 159 yards on the ground. Wake Forest did win the total yards battle at 434 to 421 in this game. A lot of penalties. Referees were very frustrating on both sides. At first it was Syracuse. Then it kind of tilted to the other side. A total of 19 penalties in this game, 9 for Syracuse, 10 for Wake Forest. The Orange had 25 first downs to Wake Forest 26. And see, this is where that running the football really was key for the Orange today, because Wake Forest actually piled up some numbers. Wake Forest had the advantage in a lot of offensive categories in this game today, but it was running the football and those turnovers and penalties, frankly, that were key for Syracuse. The Orange were 10 of 22 on third down today. One of the best third down defenses in the country continues. The Syracuse Orange defense only allows teams to convert 28% of the time on third down. Wake Forest was 4 of 16 on third down today. Eric Dungy, coming off a 411-yard passing performance a week ago, 23 of 35 for 157 yards through the air. On the ground, though, Eric Dungey, we certainly know that this is a guy that can run the football, gets it going there, 24 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. Mo Neal, who I hope is not seriously injured, he had a little bit of an injury late in the game, so we'll see how he is. Huge for Syracuse. He had 40 yards on a single drive that really got the Orange running game going. He finished with 67 yards on the day and a touchdown. Jarvian Howard comes in to score 2 rushing touchdowns for Syracuse. Chris Elmore, all 280 pounds of Chris Elmore, had a touchdown on the ground for the Orange as well. So last week it was through the air, and Eric Dungey revived that and got the Syracuse air attack rolling. This week, ground and pound, baby, as Syracuse gets 264 rushing yards on the day. On the receiving end, Sean Riley, 8 catches for 64 yards. Jamal Custis, who was held all day, did get a couple of pass interference calls finally, but had a few in the first quarter that did not go his way that should have. He had 5 catches for 62 yards. Ravian Pierce, 4 catches for 17 yards, and that was really it for the Orange air attack. Eric Dungey struggled to find open receivers in the first half of the game. Did start to get things going a little bit in the second half, but it was a day where Syracuse ran the football, and that is a welcome thing for Syracuse because they needed to find themselves an opportunity to run the ball, even though this is a team that loves to pass the ball and that air attack and the no-huddle offense. I've maintained you got to run the football at some point. There was going to be a team that would shut down your passing attack and make you run the ball. And lo and behold, that was Wake Forest, the 124th ranked defense in the country. Hey, it happened, and the Orange responded there. So lots of good things happening for Syracuse. And now they get Louisville on Friday night. So quick turnaround for that game. I'm sure most of you have seen this, but in case you haven't, Louisville lost today. I'm not making up this score. I'm going to double-check myself just to make sure. I'm looking at it right here, okay? This is not a misprint. Clemson defeated Louisville today 77 to 16. Louisville is god-awful. I mean, Wake Forest creamed this team a week ago. Clemson does it. Louisville is a mess. They might not have Bobby Petrino on the sideline come Friday in this game. It wouldn't stun me if they fired him and just kind of moved on at this point. And even if he does come to Syracuse and a similar result happens, Bobby Petrino's seat is scorching at this point in Louisville. So Syracuse is a really bad Louisville team coming in Friday night. And then you get Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. And I'm going to tell you guys something, okay? There is a distinct possibility if Notre Dame can hold serve. And look, they got Northwestern today, and that's not an easy game. And Notre Dame always has a tough schedule. But if Notre Dame can take care of business and Syracuse can take care of business, that Syracuse-Notre Dame game at Yankee Stadium, there is a distinct possibility that that could be a college game day game. The college game day could park itself in New York City, which they love to do. They tried it last year and would love to be there again at Yankee Stadium. How big would that be? Now, the only thing that kind of stinks about it is it wouldn't be here in Syracuse. I sit in Syracuse. Many of you are all over the country or wherever you're watching us from today. Syracuse is one of those schools that has not had college game day come to town. The last time Syracuse was the feature team on college game day was 2001. That was their game at Miami that year. So we'll take it. You want to be the feature team. It was nice to see Syracuse on college game day today. 3 of the 4 prognosticators at the end. I forget who the celebrity prognosticator was. He was an LSU alum that's a baseball player, I believe. But Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, and Desmond Howard all picked Syracuse to win. And just the fact that they're ranked and they're in that conversation again really shows you the upward trajectory that Syracuse football is on right now. But if they beat Louisville and Notre Dame takes care of business, not only this week against Northwestern, but next week, that could be the college game day game. And how exciting would that be? So let's see what you guys are saying here in the comments. David asking, why do you think Syracuse doesn't use Mo Neal more? He hits the hole hard and always seems to gain yards. I was surprised they didn't use him more, David. We were asking that during the game. I know there were some short yardage drives and situations where Jarvian Howard was getting some calls. You want to give Dante Strickland some run. I think Dante Strickland has been an unsung hero on this offense. Very unselfish player. He's not piling up big numbers, touchdowns, or big plays, but he's grinding away. Remember, he had the pass last week in that game against NC State, and he's been a senior unselfish leader for this team. I really love what Dante Strickland is doing, although it doesn't necessarily show up in the box score. But I was surprised they didn't use Mo Neal in this game a little bit more, honestly. Rob saying, although the defense struggled a bit during the third quarter and parts of the fourth, they set the tone today overall, which is great to see. They really did. Andre Sisco with the pop that led to the fumble recovery, and I believe can't remember off the top of my head who that fumble recovery. You guys can pop in the comments and tell me. But you had Christopher Frederick make an interception. Syracuse just picked up a fumble. Sam Hartman just dropped the ball, and they were right there. So 3 turnovers were huge. And I'll tell you what, we have said all year long that the linebackers have struggled, and they have. I mean, I think it's a fair criticism. But Ryan Guthrie has really stepped up in recent weeks for Syracuse. He had 11 tackles in this game today, and this is a guy who is really coming into his own. He's around the ball. He's getting there. He's a part of, what they call it in football, they call it the camera club, and that means you want your helmet to be in that shot wherever the ball is, and the photographer takes the picture. There you are in that picture, and he has really stepped up in recent weeks. Defense did set the tone today. They held Wake Forest their final 6 possessions in the first half scoreless. Yep, there were some leaks in the third quarter, no doubt about it, but when they needed to, they made a play. It was not bend but don't break today. Yeah, they gave up 434 yards, and this is still a defense that has flaws. But the last 2 weeks, it's been bend but don't break, and they had to make key plays late in the game against NC State and North Carolina. But today they made plays throughout the game and a lot more consistent. So certainly props to them on that one. Steven says that I am awful at my job. Thanks for watching, Steven. I appreciate that. Torrance says a few blown SU coverages. Troy, and let's see, you guys are going back and forth talking about how you support the team or not. Troy's really excited about game day. It's a distinct possibility. I'm telling you, that's not just my opinion. That is, I've talked to some people at ESPN, and let's just say they haven't really led me astray on that one. Like, there's no way that's going to happen, not a possibility. They're like, you're sniffing down the right road here, but, it's still a week away, so we'll see what happens on that one. That's a big weekend for Syracuse, as you have the basketball games at Madison Square Garden. You've got Syracuse and UConn on the 14th. We'll see who they play the next day on the 15th, and then the big football game coming up that weekend. So orange all over New York City that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday coming up here. Let's see. Troy asked about Alton Robinson. He's okay. He was shaken up a little bit. I think he just had a cramp or something, or, it was weird because he didn't go down. He was double teamed on that play, and he didn't go down, but then he kind of tripped over the pile, and they looked at him, but he was back on the field later, so he looks to be okay. We'll hear about Mo Neal. Tyrone Perkins, unfortunately, you saw it early in the game. He had a nasty leg injury. The ACC network didn't even show the replay. Dino Baber saying that he is going to stay overnight in Winston-Salem at the hospital. So unfortunate injury news there for the Orange, and we'll see how some of these other things are tracking. And that was a concern today because the secondary was banged up. Melon Wanfu stayed back in Syracuse. Christopher Frederick, Scoop Bradshaw, a couple guys in that secondary have really been battling some, injuries or owies, as Dino Babers would put it, depending on how you phrase it. So, you could start to see Wake going after those guys a little bit. But Sam Hartman's a freshman quarterback, and that pass rush got to him. Syracuse, we haven't even mentioned that, and we absolutely should. Syracuse had 6 sacks on the day, and I think all those came before halftime. If not all of them, most of them came before halftime as well. So big-time performance for the Syracuse defense with 6 sacks today, and we mentioned the turnovers and the key plays made at key times. So, that Syracuse defense needed a makeup call because they've struggled the last 2 weeks until that last moment. Linda even says it here, that 3-man rush has got to go. Syracuse is kind of in that 4-2-5 defense right now. They do blitz linebackers. They do bring some guys off the edge. But, they had 6 sacks today. We're complaining about the 3-man rush, and they had 6 sacks on the day. I think you got to take that. I think beggars can't be choosers in that case. But, generally I could see why some people would be frustrated with it, but certainly today it was great. Jeff saying there were 2 sacks in the second half. Okay, thank you, Jeff. I knew there was a lot in the first half. And, doesn't that seem low that they only had 6 sacks? By the way, there was certainly a number. I don't have the pressures right in front of me here on my stat sheet, but 6 sacks, and certainly Sam Hartman was under a lot of pressure in the second half of that football game. So At 7-2, Louisville coming up. Still plenty of opportunity for the Orange here with 3 games to go. Louisville's god-awful. Look, Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium, that game could go either way. Syracuse sold out its allotment of tickets for the Notre Dame game at Yankee Stadium. So if you want to go to that game, you're going to have to go to StubHub or know a guy or find some other sources of tickets. Certainly there's going to be a lot of Notre Dame fans there. This is Notre Dame's game. Just a reminder, a lot of people, when that comes up, are like, why would Syracuse move yet another game to New York City? They didn't in this case. That was Notre Dame's home game, and they moved it to Yankee Stadium as part of the Shamrock Series, as they call it. It's on grass. It's in a couple weeks. Who knows what the weather's going to be like for that one, but I absolutely think Syracuse can defeat Notre Dame. It's going to take some opportunistic defensive plays. It's going to take, not a Eric Dungey, performance today passing the ball, more like a week ago against NC State. It's going to take some razzle-dazzle, some trick plays. Notre Dame, in Ian Book at quarterback, great defense. They're a top 4 team right now. They're a playoff team as we speak, but of the playoff teams, of those teams up there, Notre Dame's had a couple of close games this year. Pittsburgh, who last night beat Virginia, and that loss not looking so bad now. I mean, it still stinks that Syracuse lost that game. Had they not, they'd be knocking on the door of being much higher in the playoff rankings right now. But, if I got the lottery numbers, I'd be a millionaire too. You can't woulda, coulda, shoulda to death. But Notre Dame has had some close games this year, Pittsburgh being one of them. So why not? Why can't Syracuse beat that team at Yankee Stadium in a couple of weeks? Then you finish out with Boston College on the road. So this Friday is the last home game for the Orange against Louisville. So you're hoping for a big crowd. This is the first time Syracuse is going to play in the Carrier Dome as a ranked team since 2001. So if you're not believing in what Dino Babers is doing here and seeing what this program is, the season they're having and the uptick that they are on, I mean, get on board, man. This is fun to watch this football team. I'm happy for the fans. I'm happy for you guys that you have a team that you can watch. Certainly work to be done. Nobody's handing out trophies at this point, but they're already a 3-win improvement over a season ago. And we brought up the trends at the beginning of the conversation here. They're just breaking down a lot of trends that were negative. And you want to see now the month of November be more of a positive experience for Syracuse football, because the last 2 years it's been a disaster. The defense has fallen apart. Eric Dungey hasn't been on the field. They have, promising seasons kind of slide downhill last year after the Clemson win, but now they're assured of bowl eligibility, so they don't have that weight hanging on their shoulders. They are assured of a winning season, and they're just going to keep going for it here. And let's see what kind of bowl game that they can get out of this. They're in the mix for the Pinstripe Bowl, the Camping World Bowl, which is in Orlando. You look at the ACC affiliated bowls, and, bottom line is the more you win, the better of an opportunity of the bowl game you have. No offense to the fine folks in Detroit. I don't know if the Quick Lane Motor Bowl is where I want to go in December, but, beggars can't be choosers, right? Syracuse fans will take whatever bowl game they can get at this point. Let's see. Thomas noting to pack the dome and that BC could be really tough, especially if A.J. Dillon is healthy and he's getting healthier and getting better. They're a ranked team this week as well. So Virginia's going to drop out of the top 25 because they lost to Pitt last night. Syracuse might slide up a little bit. It depends on what the other teams around them do. They were 22 in the AP poll, and inevitably at the bottom of the poll there's always a few. Last week, 7 teams. 7 new teams in the poll, the most since 1989. Craziness. So Syracuse will hold on not only to their spot, but they're definitely going to slide up a couple of spots this week, especially after AP voters, and I am one, full disclosure, saw the college football playoff ranking. And I try not to pay attention to that. I do my rankings the way I do my rankings. They do their rankings the way they do their rankings. LSU over Notre Dame this week. Really, guys? If they beat Alabama, then I'll give you a hat tip for that one, but not this week. We'll see, but good news is they're still in that conversation. You don't want to be one of those teams that wins, gets into the poll, and then slides out the next week, because that does you no good. It's consistency. Steal a phrase from Dino Babers, right? You want to be consistently good, not occasionally great. So Syracuse will hold on to its spot in all those polls by beating Wake Forest, and certainly has a chance to stick around beating Louisville. And you beat Notre Dame. And who knows what the playoff picture is going to look like by then. Who knows what the polls are going to look like by then if a couple teams lose, either Bama or LSU is losing tonight. Georgia, we mentioned Notre Dame, a couple other teams lose there. I mean, Syracuse could find itself a top 10 team if this keeps up. just keep on winning. Other teams lose. You just kind of slide your way up, and next thing you know, you're there. That's what happened to Kentucky, and they're playing Georgia today, so we'll see what happens there. But they just kept winning, and all of a sudden they're a top 10 team. It's funny how that works. Don't know anything about Mo Neal, Tom. Tom asking about Mo Neal. I have not seen anything official. I'll kind of look while we're yakking about it here just to see if I can see anything on that. I have not heard anything official to this point on that. And, boy, you hope that that's not a guy that's banged up because he got hurt in garbage time. He had 67 yards today, had that huge drive we mentioned where he had 40 yards. And, it just came a point where Syracuse was going to have to run the football to be successful, and be successful they were today, and he was a huge part of that. And as much as it's good that Syracuse has a quarterback that can run the ball, and Dungey was great on the ground. He had a 26-yard touchdown run, and there was a lot of third downs, a lot of passing plays that broke down, and that's the difference between Dungey and DeVito. DeVito has his strengths. I'm a big fan of DeVito. I can't wait to see him as the full-time starter here, but he does not have the mobility that Eric Dungey does. He just doesn't. Dungey makes those big plays happen. Not only on called plays, but it's so important that when the play breaks down, you got to make something out of nothing. There was a 14-yard run he had in this game where as soon as he got the ball, it looked like he was just going to be, slammed down to the turf right at that moment, but kind of spun out of a tackle, weaved his way through, and next thing you know, it's 15 yards. Those are the kind of plays that Eric Dungey gives you, and those are the type of plays you need from your quarterback, and those are the type of running plays you need overall as well. I saw Tom bring this up in the chat here that, Dino's phone is going to start ringing. Look, that's part of being a coach that's resurrected a dormant program. Maryland has an opening at this point. Nobody at that Maryland game today, by the way. Amazing to see the reaction to all the crazy news there. They finally did the right thing and fired DJ Durkin there. But Maryland jobs open, USC jobs going to be open every year. There's some big jobs. And, get used to hearing Dino's name linked to some of those jobs. Look, a lot of it is just writers speculating. Jobs got to be filled. Well, let's look at some of the, coaches out there that are doing good things. And if you can make Syracuse a ranked program again, people are going to notice. You want a coach that other programs want. So it depends on who's calling, what kind of job it is. Dino, this is just an educated guess on my part. I have no inside information on this. But look, Dino Babers is 57 years old. He's at a Power 5 school. The dome's getting renovated. The facilities have never been better. Recruiting is on the uptick. Syracuse has some work to do there. But look at all the freshmen that are playing on this team and contributing. Nykeem Johnson is a young player. Taj Harris is a freshman. Andre Schmidt, look at that. They found that guy out of nowhere, and he's one of the best kickers in the country. They're recruiting better. And to me, Dino's been all over the place in college football. I think he likes it here. He likes what he's establishing here. And short of like a USC or a major program just dropping like $7 million a year in your lap, I think Syracuse will go out of their way to ensure that Dino Babers stays here. I can't tell you for how long, but as long as they can keep him here. But, just get used to other schools potentially calling, writers linking it to it, agents leaking things to the big-time college football insiders, and, the rumor mill will be churning here. That's part of, having a coach that everybody else wants, right? Nykeem Johnson did dress today. Good question there. He just wasn't very active in this game. He did have, overall, statistically, he had 3 catches for 6 yards. So just not a good day for Nykeem, and you could see it. Dungey trying to get down the field when he was in those passing plays. There was a lot of times he tucked the ball and ran, not because he was hesitant to throw. He just didn't have open receivers. So that was surprising given that Wake Forest secondary, Wake Forest defense overall was pretty bad. But, they got away with a lot of holding, a lot of pass interference, a lot of physical play. Some of the calls came late in the game, but I think that was part of it. The refs just let go in that secondary. So I would expect you'll hear a lot more of Nykeem Johnson's name and anybody else you didn't hear today against Louisville next week, because they are awful. Jack noting that Notre Dame's going to be wearing Yankee pinstripes. Have you seen those uniforms? I don't know about that. Look, I'm not wearing them. 18 to 22-year-old kids are wearing them. They can wear what they want. I've seen those Yankee pinstripe Notre Dame uniforms, and I don't know about that. I get the whole thing. You're playing at Yankee Stadium, but they're pretty brutal, if you ask me. So that is a couple of weeks down the road. The next time we will meet is when Syracuse plays Louisville Friday night So we'll be here after that game, late Friday night as we go into Saturday morning. You would anticipate we'll be here after another Syracuse win, which would put them at 8-2, which is incredible to think about. First time they'd have 8 regular season wins since 2001. But, hey, it's football. Anything can happen. But, good God, Louisville's awful. Just look at their last few games. Look at their season. That's a program falling apart right now. So that's when we'll meet again, Syracuse and Louisville Friday night. Want to thank our friends at Krause Health for sponsoring our Facebook Lives here. Come on by after every game. We're going to start doing it for basketball coming up. I'm not sure exactly what the basketball schedule is going to be. We'll do it here and there during non-conference play and then after every ACC game. So keep that in mind with hoops starting up next week. Really busy time for Syracuse sports and a busy time for us covering it all. Please read our coverage on syracuse.com. Check out my recap. It'll be out tomorrow morning. All the great coverage from Nate Mink and Stephen Bailey, the great photos from Dennis Nett, and all the coverage. And somebody said it earlier on. I had the costumes on for this week's episode. We have a show we do. We have a video. We call it Orange Weekly. It comes out every Thursday. You can find it on our YouTube page. Please subscribe to Syracuse Orange Sports on YouTube. We put it on syracuse.com, all the social media, so very easy to find when it comes out, and that comes out every Thursday. I would appreciate it if you could check that out as well. In the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for hanging out with me today on Facebook Live after the Orange take down Wake Forest 41-24. It's all been presented by Krause Health, and we'll talk to you next time.